Have you ever heard, "We talked about this," only to see that nothing has been reflected in your child's EHCP? You were told it had been discussed, but it isn't written down. No follow-up happens, and slowly trust starts to erode. Or you felt like follow-up is impossible, even though you were promised it would happen, leaving you wondering, why do some decisions never make it onto the EHCP? Or why isn't any action taken? This can be unintentional or intentional. Either way, the outcomes are the same. Corridor conversations, verbal assurance, and informal updates might sound helpful, but they often leave us as parents in the dark. So in this video, I'm unpacking the hidden costs of these informal chats, why they carry so little weight when it comes to securing the support that your child needs, and why verbal promises often fall short, with the aim to help recognise these patterns, approach conversations with clarity, and stay informed, empowered as we continue to advocate for our children. My name is Brenda and I'm a parent mentor and a fellow parent. I support parents raising children with individual needs and differences to stay empowered whilst they navigate through procedural challenges. And whilst advocating for my son who is living with autism and ADHD, I can truly understand the significance and the risks of informal conversations, as it often showed up in very ordinary moments such as dropping him off at breakfast club in the morning, collecting him after school, chatting with the class teacher at the end of the school day. And to be clear, those conversations do actually have value. Even a 2 or 3 minute conversation can make a difference. Asking questions like, "How has my child been at school today?" or "Is there anything that I need to be aware of?" can be effective, as they offer real-time updates, help spot small issues early, and help consistency between home and school, as well as them being very low pressured. But when conversations start to shift from updates to concerns, those same corridor chats, the ones that feel harmless, can quietly begin to shape outcomes, and not always in a child's favour. So let's look at why the hidden cost is not always obvious. And the first is that it starts with early good faith on both sides. This is where we raise concerns respectfully, calmly. Staff respond with reassurance. The tone feels collaborative, but nothing is formally logged and no baseline is established. This often begins as a way to preserve relationships and avoid conflict. But the impact is that we feel reassured and then delay formal escalation, where our concerns are emotionally acknowledged but procedurally invisible. Another hidden cost is that problems emerge gradually, not dramatically. This is where there's no single crisis moment, where a child's behaviour escalates slowly and anxiety increases incrementally, and access to your child's learning reduces bit by bit. And at that point, each issue feels too small on its own to justify formal escalation, so concerns are raised in passing. This happens as processes respond far more readily to acute incidents than to patterns over time. And without a cumulative record, it becomes harder to demonstrate unmet needs or deterioration, and our attempts to advocate become fragmented. Another hidden cost is that communication quietly shifts to the corridor. This is where updates happen at the classroom door or in the corridor, because formal meetings require time, paperwork and accountability. And the cost is that nothing is recorded and no accountability is formally assigned. And the impact is that we receive reassurance instead of action, and we feel listened to but nothing progresses. And another hidden cost is that escalation is quietly avoided. And this is where formalised concerns could trigger local authority involvement and EHCP amendments or expose gaps in provision. So reassurance replaces resolution, empathy replaces obligation. And often this isn't deliberate. Formal conversations allow concerns to be contained without committing to any outcomes. And this enables our advocacy to be softened, where we're supported to stay calm rather than supported to move forward. Another hidden cost is that we may accept communication to stay safe, where we are already advocating heavily and we're very conscious of professional fatigue and the possible consequences on our child. So we may self-limit escalation even when it's extremely warranted. And these dynamics are real because informal conversations feel a lot more safer than formal challenges. And the impact is that our attempts to advocate may prioritise harmony over effectiveness. And another cost is that there is no paper trail. This is where months of conversation only exist in memory. There's no timeline, there's no evidence, just repeated concerns, and no accountability for inaction. The cost here is that concerns, if then raised, can later be treated as new or unexpected. This happens because verbal communication leaves no institutional trace, and the impact is where we're forced to re-justify concerns rather than build on an established record. And another hidden cost of informal conversations is that responsibility quietly shifts back onto us. This is where conversations end with, let us know how it goes, or let's just see how they are tomorrow, allowing monitoring and decision making to subtly shift back onto us as parents. But this happens because informal reassurance creates the appearance of action without ownership, where we carry responsibility without authority, and the load for us increases. And another hidden cost is that everything becomes formal suddenly. This is where a situation reaches crisis point, and perhaps emergency review is called, or the threat of possible exclusion. And now everything must be recorded, structured, and assigned. This happens because informal processes mask escalation until it can no longer be avoided. And then we're asked to speak in a formal space that should have existed all along. This could look like being misunderstood, misrepresented, disorientated, or undermined. Informal conversations do have its place, as they help build interactions between home and school. They share quick updates and keep us connected with day-to-day experiences. But when concerns relate to provision, access to learning, or child's well-being, informal conversations carry hidden costs. Therefore, learning to recognise when communication has shifted, it allows us to pause, step back, and choose a different path, as it helps us conserve energy, redirect key conversations into formal spaces, and to protect our ability to advocate effectively. And if any of the information that I've shared in this video has struck a chord, I encourage you to watch this next video, where I discuss the hidden risks of approving an EHCP too quickly, and what to look out for before you go ahead and approve. So why not check it out? Or alternatively, why not take a look at my website? But for now, keep doing what you're doing. Stay focused, stay empowered, and keep creating progress. Thank you for listening.